On 2016, in the middle of the day, a fourth grader saw something moving disgustingly on a concrete cylinder in a park. She came to investigate and asked, "Who is hiding there?" To her surprise, a pink, dumb-looking creature emerged and told her it was starving. The creature wasn't from this planet. He was a Happyan from planet Happy, on a quest to spread happiness throughout the universe. He had recently landed on Earth with his Happy spaceship, and during his first contact with humanity, humans thought he was some kind of animal and tried to capture him. He narrowly escaped. Terrified and hungry, the only one who helped him was Shizuka, the child who fed him bread. The creature's name was Nuanakf, but since Shizuka struggled to pronounce his name, she named him Takopi because he looked like an octopus. Takopi examined his savior, thinking of ways to repay her kindness, and decided to let her use his happy gadgets. He showed her one called the Flappy Wings that lets you soar to the sky, but Shizuka refused, saying she needed to buy a writing board and what she did was no big deal. She added that even if she could fly, nothing would change. As Shizuka walked away with her vandalized and beaten school bag, Takopi, due to his naivete, misinterpreted her response. Since he had seen earthling birds fly, he assumed Shizuka, being an earthling, could also fly, which was unknowingly racist. The next day, Shizuka and Takopi were hiding from a group of girls, who appeared to be Shizuka's classmates. They were happily talking about how they had broken Shizuka's writing board for the third time that week. Takopi, oblivious to what they were discussing, only noticed that they seemed happy. As the girls left, Takopi showcased another happy gadget to Shizuka, this time a camera. It functioned like a regular camera but had a special function. Before Takopi could explain this function, Shizuka interrupted, saying she had to go buy another writing board before the stationery store closed. Takopi was confused about why she needed to buy another one, but Shizuka simply said it had gone missing. As he watched her walk away, Takopi developed an admiration for Shizuka's industriousness and promised himself he would make her happy. As days went by, Takopi showcased multiple happy gadgets in attempts to make Shizuka happy. This time he showed her a ballpoint pen that sounded like a rabbit from Saturn. Shizuka told him she had to go home to feed Chappy, which made Takopi curious. She invited him to her home, a traditional Japanese house where Chappy, her pet dog, happily greeted them. Initially threatened by Chappy's size, Takopi soon relaxed as he watched Shizuka smile while playing with her dog. The first time he had seen her smile. While Takopi was admiring this scene, he missed a dangerous glint in Chappy's eyes. When Shizuka brought Chappy's food, the dog pounced on Takopi until Shizuka quickly stopped him. During the house tour, Shizuka mentioned she was home alone because her mother was out escorting. When Takopi asked what escorting meant, Shizuka explained that her mother accompanies clients for work. As Takopi pondered this, he asked about Shizuka's father. After a brief pause, Shizuka answered that she didn't have a father, which Takopi misinterpreted, thinking humans could reproduce with just mothers. Shizuka then explained that her father had left Chappy when Chappy was just a puppy with her, and they had been together ever since. She loved Chappy so much that no matter how terrible her life was, she was okay as long as she had Chappy. As Takopi observed their bond, he felt an unfamiliar emotion he couldn't identify, ultimately concluding Shizuka did have a father and humans couldn't reproduce by themselves. Hours passed by. Outside, the night sky was bright with stars. As they walked toward the park, Shizuka asked Takopi which star was planet Happy. He responded that it was too far away to be seen. Takopi described the delicacies from his planet and suggested Shizuka should visit his world via his Happy spaceship, but she declined, saying she didn't believe in magic. As Takopi explained that it wasn't magic but happy gadget, Shizuka's expression darkened and she said she couldn't go anywhere, not even to where her father was. Takopi remembered his mother's words, "My dearest offspring, take these happy gadgets with you. Travel far and wide to spread happiness throughout the universe. But be careful, you must never break our commandments." Takopi wasn't worried about the commandments since he couldn't convince Shizuka to use his happy gadgets anyway. He promised that someday he would take Shizuka to his planet and make her smile ear to ear. though not right now since something had happened and he couldn't return. Shizuka sat down and smelled Takopi, who turned red. She told him he didn't smell like anything, then stood up and said goodbye because it was late, promising to see him tomorrow. When Takopi was about to show a new happy gadget, he found Shizuka with a grim expression, covered in bruises and holding Chappy's collar. When asked what happened, she said she had gotten into a fight with her friend. Takopi thought her bruises were normal because he believed humans changed color during fights, just as he turned red when blushing. He showed her what he thought was a perfect gadget for her distress, the reconciliation ribbon. If people tied their pinky fingers together with it, they would reconcile and become friends again. The ribbon was strong, flexible, and could stretch infinitely. Shizuka became fixated on the ribbon and asked to borrow it. Though Takopi remembered his mother's warning, a happy gadget must always be used in the presence of a happyan. Never entrust a gadget to an alien being. He let her borrow it anyway, happy that she finally wanted to use a happy gadget. Hours later, growing worried, Takopi went to Shizuka's home. Takopi, thinking Shizuka might have accidentally tangled herself in the infinitely extending ribbon, hurried to her home to help untangle her. As he gently entered her room, his optimistic thoughts shattered at the sight before him. Shizuka's lifeless form hung from the beam above, the reconciliation ribbon wrapped around her neck. Takopi asked what she was doing, but received no response. He said that the ribbon wouldn't work if tied to the beam. As he jumped to the box and tried to get Shizuka down, her body fell lifelessly to the ground. While Takopi panicked over why Shizuka wasn't breathing, he realized the ribbon meant for reconciliation was wrapped around her neck. He blamed himself, thinking that if he hadn't disobeyed the commandment, this wouldn't have happened. All he could do was apologize as he caressed Shizuka. Throughout the vast expanse of the universe, death is equally ordained. Nothing exists to undo it, and no gadgets can bring the dead back to life. However, as Takopi cried on the park, he remembered the picture they had taken. His camera had a special function. It was a time camera. Only one photo could be saved at a time, and if you fed the photo back into the camera, you could return to the moment the picture was taken. As he fed the photo into the camera, he wondered why humans, one of the most highly sentient life forms, could commit such acts, and why Shizuka had done this. He promised himself he would understand Shizuka better and create a future where she was alive and smiling. When Takopi returned to the moment the picture was taken, Shizuka asked him why he was just standing still while holding the camera. The camera had worked. As Takopi looked at the picture, thinking about the dark future that lay ahead for Shizuka, she grew worried about his behavior. He reassured her that nothing was wrong, and as she started to walk away, Takopi asked to go to her school to know her better. The class started, and the teacher greeted the students. They could see how Shizuka was being treated. Her trashed bag and vandalized table were clearly visible, yet the teacher ignored it all. As Takopi examined the classroom where Shizuka studied, a girl approached them, greeted Shizuka, and called her a parasite. The girl's name was Marina, and she seemed to be one of the girls they had been hiding from earlier. As Marina came closer to Shizuka and said she stank like her dog, it appeared she couldn't see Takopi sitting on Shizuka's shoulder. They had discussed this earlier on how they will hide Takopi and solved it with one of Takopi's gadgets, a flower pin that made its wearer appear as a happy flower to others. When Marina stared intently at Shizuka, they feared being caught, but she only asked why Shizuka was wearing a chameleon flower in her hair. Shizuka then placed Takopi in a flower pot. During math class, Shizuka stood embarrassed, unable to answer the homework question because Marina had hidden her notes. The disappointed teacher called on another classmate to answer. Watching from the flower pot, Takopi thought Shizuka had ended her life because she couldn't answer her homework. So he used the time camera again to go back and tell her the answer. When Shizuka answered correctly, leaving the whole class shocked, the teacher called on Marina for the next problem. Marina, still stunned, fumbled her words, and the teacher called another student. Marina, embarrassed, glared at Shizuka. At recess, Marina and her gang brought Shizuka a full meal even though she had just eaten, guilt-tripping her to finish it. Takopi, seeing this, thought Shizuka must have felt so bad about leaving food on her plate that she had ended her life. He went to her table and consumed all the food, even the corn cob. As the day continued, all of Marina's relentless bullying was thwarted by Takopi, and the day ended with Marina defeated. Takopi, still oblivious to what was happening, concluded that what occurred today was fighting. He knew that when Happians fight, they simply take the other Happian's happy card to draw attention so they can discuss the problem and make up. Takopi thought Marina was hiding Shizuka's things and observing her closely because she wanted to make up with her. The next day, one of Marina's followers told Shizuka that Marina wanted to meet her during lunch recess by the PE storeroom. Takopi's eyes sparkled, thinking this was their chance to make up, but as he happily discussed how they talk things out, Shizuka, with tears in her eyes, told him he could only act that way because he had never talked with Marina before. Takopi then realized the seriousness of the situation. It was like eating someone's happy custard without permission, but he was determined to help them reconcile. Takopi suggested taking Shizuka's place using his happy gadget, the morphing palette. If a piece of someone's DNA was placed in it and the switch pressed, the user would morph into that person's form. Takopi told Shizuka to stay in the bathroom stall while he talked to Marina. When Marina questioned Shizuka's change in accent, Takopi thought the conversation was going smoothly until Marina slapped him and told him to stop using that accent. Shocked by his first experience of violence, Takopi apologized, still using the same accent, only to be slapped again. Marina scolded him for being creepy, and Takopi, sitting on the ground, apologized again. As Marina ranted about Shizuka acting cocky and being a know-it-all, Takopi, who had never experienced such harsh treatment on his happy planet, couldn't stand up as tears welled in his eyes. Marina kicked him in the face. When Takopi tried to respond to Marina's questions, she kicked him in the throat. As she walked closer, scolding him for speaking to her casually, Marina ground her foot into Takopi's stomach. Despite the pain and his desire to run away, Takopi remembered Shizuka. He quickly stood up, pleading with Marina to explain why she was doing this so he could understand. Before he could finish, Marina pulled his hair and called him trash, demanding to know how a daughter of a parasite who feeds off men dared to act superior. As Marina drew out a pen and ordered him to give her father back, Takopi quickly used his camera to go back in time. Tearful from the events of the previous loop, Takopi continued the day reflecting on Marina's actions while helping Shizuka. As days passed, he began to realize that his assistance to Shizuka was what angered Marina. Takopi blamed himself, thinking his actions were the reason for Shizuka's mistreatment. When the meeting between Shizuka and Marina was about to happen again, Takopi found himself frozen, still traumatized by the previous loop. Though afraid, he still wanted to help. He took out the morphing palette and transformed into Shizuka, then ran calling for help to come to the PE storeroom. Their classmate Naoki responded to the call. He offered to bring this up at the next student council meeting or tell a teacher. But Shizuka declined. Though they said their goodbyes, Naoki remained worried. Later at the park, while Shizuka and Takopi discussed the boy from earlier, Takopi is about to apologize, but Shizuka interrupted to ask if he had saved her earlier. She thanked him, noting she only got bruises on her face this time, and expressed gratitude for everything he had done today. Takopi felt remorse, believing his actions had led to her being beaten up. Shizuka then revealed that Marina had been this way ever since Marina's dad and her mom had gotten close. Nothing was fun anymore, and everything was terrible. But thanks to Takopi, things had gotten a little better. As Takopi teared up and apologized, leaving Shizuka confused, he silently promised himself he would keep helping her so she could live. In the distance, Marina glared at Shizuka like a frustrated predator that had missed its prey. Walking home, she reflected on why her bullying wasn't working on Shizuka, and why she had changed. Upon entering her home, she was greeted by a messy house that looked like a battleground, a depressed mother, and news that her father was having dinner again with Shizuka's mother. When Marina's mother asked if she was on her side and would do everything she asked, Marina comforted her. The night ended with Marina wearing a dangerous glint in her eyes, while Shizuka, Chappy, and Takopi slept peacefully. Day 6 arrived and continued as usual, but something was off. Marina's usual bullying and snarky remarks had stopped. Later, Shizuka and Takopi discussed this while walking Chappy towards the park, but Takopi reassured Shizuka that this was Marina taking the first step toward reconciliation. As they continued, Shizuka began reminiscing about how she and her dad used to walk together to the park when she was little. Takopi was shocked to learn she had a father, realizing mothers couldn't self-replicate. Shizuka explained that her father had left them when she was little, and on the night he left, the stars were out just like tonight. She had wished so hard to the stars that her parents wouldn't get divorced, but her wish didn't come true. That's why she didn't believe in magic or God. Takopi felt happy that Shizuka was comfortable sharing these things with him, compared to the last time they looked at the stars together. Then something occurred to him. In the previous timeline, it was day 6 after meeting Shizuka, just like today, and tomorrow she had died. Shizuka had come to the park with only Chappy's collar in her hand. Takopi wondered why that evening Chappy hadn't been with her, as a mysterious person approached them. It was Marina. She mocked Shizuka, saying she was just like her mother, getting busy at night. Chappy, being a friendly dog, went to Marina wagging his tail. Marina called him filthy and demanded to know what gave a parasite and a fox the right to have a pet dog. Shizuka, panicking, quickly called Chappy to her side to put on his leash, but Marina slapped her, leaving Chappy shocked and anxious. Marina continued hitting Shizuka while asking what gave her the right to have a dog. Chappy, growing increasingly anxious and angry at seeing his best friend hurt, finally lunged at Marina to protect Shizuka. Marina smirked as if everything was going according to plan. She shrieked and called for help, telling everyone that this vicious dog had attacked her. Bystanders called animal control, who subdued Chappy and took him away. Takopi remained stunned while Shizuka wept and called for Chappy. Unable to bear Shizuka's tears, Takopi took out his camera to go back in time. In the next attempt, Takopi suggested taking a different path. But Marina was there too, seemingly looking for them. Takopi gave up on this loop and used the camera again. On the third loop, he suggested a morning walk, but Marina was still there, waiting and waving. On the 10th loop, Takopi suggested not going for a walk that night and waiting until tomorrow, but it failed. 15 loops had passed, but no matter what Takopi did, Marina was always there. That's when he overheard that Marina was purposely tracking them. It had been her plan all along to get Chappy taken away, though Takopi still didn't understand this. As he was about to ask Shizuka, he saw her eyes and knew that if he didn't do something, she would be dead. Takopi called her name and promised that even though he had failed this time, he would keep trying again and again to find a way to ensure she would never be sad again. He reassured her to trust him, promising that this time he would surely make her smile ear to ear. After 101 loops, Takopi still couldn't prevent Chappy from being taken away. Shizuka sat depressed on a bench at animal control. Her mother was there, explaining that Chappy would have to live at his daddy's place because a dog that had bitten someone couldn't remain within city limits, though she assured Shizuka she could get him back one day. She mentioned that while Marina wasn't seriously injured, her mother was furious, putting her in a bind since Marina was one of her client's daughters. Before leaving in a taxi, she told Shizuka to come home and eat whatever she wanted for dinner, and asked why Shizuka was wearing a chameleon flower in her hair. As they walked home, Takopi questioned why he couldn't prevent Chappy from being taken away. But as long as Shizuka was alive, he wouldn't give up helping her bring Chappy back from her father's place. Though Takopi tried reassuring Shizuka, asking about her father's place and attempting to feed her, she ignored everything. Thinking she might be happier at school with her classmates, Takopi suggested that plan, but it backfired as everyone gossiped about her. Marina had told everyone that Shizuka had ordered her dog to attack her. Only Naoki showed concern. Marina approached Shizuka with her usual snark, questioning why she even came to school after what happened. Throughout recess, everyone bullied Shizuka, with Marina demanding an apology until Naoki intervened, announcing that the next class was starting. After everyone left, Naoki asked Shizuka if she was okay and offered help, but she ignored him. When class ended, Marina saw Shizuka walking alone and told her friends to go home without her. As Takopi continued trying to cheer up Shizuka without success, Marina confronted them, saying she wanted to talk about the dog. Shizuka, with lifeless eyes, went along with Marina. Takopi, still oblivious to the situation, believed they would chat nicely and reconcile. Having learned nothing from previous events, he followed them to a hidden forest, hoping to help them make peace. While walking through the path to a hidden forest, Marina remembered her parents arguing at the dinner table, leaving her mother crying. She convinced herself this was what she had to do to restore her family. As they walked, Shizuka broke down crying, calling Chappy's name, and Marina responded by throwing her bag at Shizuka's face. Marina began beating Shizuka, while telling her the dog was dead, but Shizuka clung to hope that her dog was alive and with her father. Marina called her stupid, insisted the dog was definitely dead, called her fatherless, called her mother a female dog, and told her nobody cared about her and she should die. Shizuka broke down crying while Takopi watched from a distance, too scared to move. Marina's verbal assault continued as she called Shizuka a parasite while stomping on her. She raged about how Shizuka's family money came from her daddy's wallet, how all her clothes and food were bought with money her mother had extracted from Marina's father, money he had worked hard to earn. Shizuka remained on the ground, sobbing and calling out Chappy's name while writhing in pain. Marina, still blaming Shizuka for her father's infidelity, ground her heel into Shizuka's head. Takopi, watching it all happen, finally found the courage to help Shizuka. He remembered how terrible Shizuka's life was, and that her only moments of happiness were with her dog. He realized that if he stayed hidden and didn't interfere, the end result would always be the same. Finally motivated, Takopi emerged from his hiding spot and lunged at Marina with his camera. Takopi and Shizuka stood looking at Marina's lifeless body. She was bleeding from her head as if struck with a brick. Takopi, shocked by his actions, began checking why she wasn't moving. He felt something was wrong. He had never killed or even caused pain to others before. Realizing this was wrong, he tried to use his camera for a redo, but it wouldn't work. Panicking, he repeatedly pressed the camera's button, but it remained broken from when he had used it to strike Marina's head. Shizuka approached and asked if Marina was dead. There wasn't even a twitch from Marina's body. As Takopi asked in denial what he was going to do now, Shizuka expressed admiration for what he had done. She repeated how she hadn't believed in magic for the longest time and had always thought things would be better if Marina were gone, but couldn't do anything herself. This wish that she never thought would come true had finally been granted through Takopi. Using Takopi's camera on Marina's cranium was like magic, she said. Though Takopi still didn't understand what was happening, he accepted Shizuka's words. Shizuka then said Chappy was definitely alive and they should go to her father's place. Looking at Marina's body, Takopi still couldn't believe this was a success, but his unease subsided when he saw Shizuka smiling ear to ear, thanking him for taking Marina's life. Earth, the third planet in this solar system. It was day 7 after Takopi arrived to Earth from planet Happy. Takopi and Shizuka held hands as they exited the forest, walking towards the start of their story with no do-overs. As Takopi and Shizuka are on their way to the exit of the forest, they encounter Naoki, who is worried about what Marina is going to do to Shizuka, so he followed them. Naoki then notices a pink, dumb, creepy-looking creature holding Shizuka's hand and asks what it is. Naoki also notices Marina's lifeless body. Shizuka then explains that Takopi's magic is what killed Marina, as Naoki stares at Marina, questioning reality. While Shizuka banters in the background, Naoki finally regains his composure and calls them out for saying that this isn't right. The two then look at Naoki and at each other and ask why not. Naoki is then confused, asking why they needed to kill Marina and if there had to be another way. He also adds why they are leaving her body in the forest, which will result in them getting into trouble. Takopi sees Shizuka sulking, so he calls Naoki scary and says he should be more happy. Naoki then says that a person is dead, and this situation is not funny. As Takopi is about to apologize, Naoki shuts him up, leaving him looking at the ground. Shizuka explains that magic is what killed Marina, but Naoki refutes it as he analyzes the crime scene and tells her that it was murder and she will be sent to juvie, and that no one will believe that a space alien did this. Shizuka then starts muttering that if she gets sent to juvie, she will not see Chappy. Naoki then adds that turning herself in can lighten her sentence, and she should go to the police right now. Shizuka then asks if there are other ways other than turning herself in, because she doesn't read many books, and Naoki seems to know a lot, leaving Naoki blushing. He then tells her that in novels, sometimes they pin the crime on someone else, and another common method is to hide the evidence. Shizuka then tells him that they should do it, and tells him that she doesn't want to go to juvie. She then asks him what's the best way to hide evidence, leaving Naoki speechless. Naoki refuses and tells her that what they're about to do is a crime and that they are kids. How can they cover this up by themselves? Shizuka then tells him that they can do it with Takopi's magic, so he should come up with the plan. Naoki tries to refuse until he hears the words, "Can't you do it?" making him relive a bad memory of how he is being compared to his brother. Shizuka then tells him that if she and Takopi do it themselves, they will get caught in no time, and that's why they need his help, since she doesn't have friends and she can't count on her mom. Shizuka then approaches and holds Naoki's hand and tells him that he is all she's got. Leaving Naoki smitten, Shizuka seems to have inherited her mother's seduction skills. In the background, Takopi is thinking about the word juvie and what it means. While thinking, Naoki calls Takopi an octopus and asks what the gadget he is holding does. Takopi then says it's a memory box. Naoki then says he wasn't asking what it's called. Takopi tells him that it preserves whatever you put into it, like pretty leaves, and you can change its size with the button. Naoki then expands the box until it can hold Marina's size. He tells them that they can bury Marina with this for now and let Takopi hide the murder weapon in his body. After that, they use the morphing palette to transform Takopi into Marina, and they make Takopi pretend to be Marina to avoid suspicion. As they are about to go home, Takopi asks them if they are sure about what they are about to do and if this is the right thing to do. Shizuka doesn't reply to Takopi's question and only tells him that the way he walks will give it away. She then smiles and walks away. Takopi, just like Naoki, is smitten. Shizuka's charm needs to be studied. As they walk home, Takopi promises himself that he'll do whatever it takes to make Shizuka smile. And from now on, he will do his best to impersonate Marina. At the front gate, Takopi prepares to act like Marina. And as he opens the door, what greets him is the sight of Marina's parents arguing. Marina's mother seems to have taken an eco-friendly tassel-making class, but the father seems very upset about it, telling her that she's spending his money on useless junk and calling her a parasite. Marina's mother then tells him that it's ironic coming from a guy who is always hanging out at nightclubs. Marina's father then tells her that he is the one working, so whatever he does with his money is his business, while grabbing the tassel and hurling it toward Takopi's face. Marina's mother starts crying, saying that what Marina's father did could have put her eye out. Plus, she is a girl. If she got a scar, she could sue him. Marina's father then responds that she doesn't have a scar, tells her not to be paranoid, says she is being a pain in the ass, and calls women worthless because they never worked a day in their lives. While all of this is happening, Takopi is smiling in the background, misunderstanding what is going on, concluding that Marina's parents are getting along because they are talking to each other a lot. The next day, while the trio meets at the park, Shizuka tells them to go with her to see Chappy. Takopi agrees, but Naoki, on the other hand, strongly disagrees, telling the duo it's too soon. Plus, Chappy is in Tokyo living with Shizuka's dad. It's too far for kids like them to travel alone. Naoki also adds that they should wait until Takopi has settled with the family as their daughter. Meanwhile, Takopi in the background is smiling and asking what divorce mediation means because he heard it from Marina's mother. Naoki then tells them that they should avoid suspicion and start putting together a plan for later. Naoki then tells them that they will make their move during summer break, while showing them his notebook for plans. Until then, they will have after-school planning meetings. Naoki starts thinking that he doesn't have time for this and needs to go home to study when someone calls Naoki, asking if Shizuka and Takopi are his friends. This someone is Junya, Naoki's big brother. The two then look at him with awe. Takopi then asks him if he is really Naoki's brother. Junya, confused by Takopi's accent, still answers his question. Naoki then asks his brother why he is back early. Junya then looks at his phone and tells him that he was heading out to work and asks him to calm their mother down while he is out. Junya then says his goodbyes, waving at the trio. Naoki, with a grim expression, vents to the duo that Junya doesn't have to work part-time. Naoki then elaborates that Junya can just ask for all the spending money he wants. He only does this to worry their mother. Naoki then explains that Junya wants to buy a ring with his own money. He tells the two that Junya should just be responsible and study since he is the chosen one, and everyone's hope is pinned on him. Shizuka then gets closer to Naoki's face, telling him to take it then. Naoki, shocked, asks what. Shizuka answers, the ring. Shizuka then elaborates that the shock will make his brother quit his job. Naoki then refuses, telling her that it won't work, but Shizuka uses her charm, telling Naoki that he can do it, leaving him smitten. Later that night at Naoki's home, which seems to also be a clinic, Naoki sneaks around as his brother walks down the hallway. Takopi is with him and asks if this is where he lives and what they're taking. Shizuka seems to have let Takopi tag along so that if things go wrong, he can use Takopi's magic. Takopi seems to be having fun with what they are doing, while Naoki hides and thinks about why he let this weird octopus into his home. He then sneaks into his brother's room, because the only time he takes the ring off is when he is showering. When he is about to grab the ring, he pauses and remembers his brother showing it off. It turns out to be a matching ring he bought with his hard work. He then thinks that his brother is cheesy. He could have anything he wants. He then remembers that he is a good brother, willing to use his next payday to buy his little brother new glasses. Takopi then alerts Naoki that someone is coming. It turns out to be Junya, who forgot his phone. Naoki and Takopi are almost caught, but the flappy wings come in clutch as they help them escape out of the window and fly away. Naoki then tells Takopi that they should get out of here. Takopi immediately zooms out as Naoki tries to follow right behind him, but the flappy wings seem to malfunction. An error occurs, telling Naoki that the maximum weight has been exceeded and the battery has been depleted. When Naoki is about to fall, Takopi comes in to save him. Once they're finally on the ground, Takopi asks Naoki if he is okay. Naoki, lying on the ground and relieved that he is safe, tells Takopi that he is okay. Takopi then asks if he got the ring. Naoki answers that he didn't, as another memory comes to him. Him and his mother playing a penalty game. If he fails, there are no pancakes for Naoki. His mother always told him that his brother always got 100% and that he should be just like him. So, Naoki studies hard to get a 100, but he fails to achieve it. He tries and tries, but no matter what he does, the score is not enough to get him a pancake. His mother then tells him that this is all a big waste of time, no matter what he does. Naoki, while walking toward the park, fears that this failure will make everyone give up on him. Shizuka, smiling, asks what happened to the two and why they look beat up. Naoki then starts to cry. Days went by. Takopi tries to blend in during class, and after school, the trio plans how to go get Chappy. They also play with each other, growing closer, while Marina's body remains buried and hidden in the forest. On an after-school planning session, Takopi tells the two that they have a big problem. It seems the flappy wings are too heavy for humans, so using the flappy wings to fly to Tokyo to get Chappy is out of the option. Naoki then tells Takopi that he wasn't counting on them anyway, leaving Takopi shocked. Naoki then takes out his notebook and crosses out the use of flappy wings. This leaves them with the option of taking the ferry or the train, but this option costs money. Naoki then addresses the next topic. He asks why Takopi's happy gadgets are so useless, and why he even brought all of those junk to Earth anyway. Takopi, shocked by what he just heard, quickly defends them. He tells Naoki that there are merrier happy gadgets on his planet, like the diorama dog, but Naoki flatly says that it was also useless. Takopi then tells him about the big happy clock. It's an incredible device that enables you to travel to any place and time. Naoki then starts pinching Takopi, shouting at him that he should go back and bring it here because it can fix every one of their problems, making it as if it never happened. But Takopi tells him that he can't go back to Planet Happy. As Shizuka approaches the two and calls them, Naoki then tells Shizuka the plan. They should take the bullet train to Tokyo, and for now, they should just play. The trio then starts to play. Takopi thinks that it's so much fun when the three of them are together. Shizuka is even smiling, and he wishes that they could always be like this. Takopi then thinks about why he is not able to return home. At Marina's home, the couple is still arguing. This time, the two are arguing about why Marina's mother didn't attend her mother-in-law's 60th birthday. Takopi then asks what they are talking about, and Marina's mother points out why he is talking funny again. But her father just laughs at it, thinking it's a new trend from school. Marina's father then tells Takopi that he looks more cheerful these days, but adds that her mother is a pain in the ass. Her father then asks him if he wants to live with him. It seems Marina's parents are getting a divorce. Takopi thinks that the father's place is in Tokyo, where Chappy is, and he quickly says that he wants to go to Marina's father's place. Marina's mother questions if she really wants to go to his father's place. Marina's father then pats Takopi's head, happy that she wants to live with him. Later that day, Marina's father seems to have gone out and isn't coming home. Marina's mother then asks him why Takopi is talking funny, but Takopi doesn't pay attention to it because he thinks that they take Chappy back before summer break. He thinks this news will make Shizuka happy. As Marina's mom comes closer to call him, Takopi asks if she said something. Marina's mother then shouts that it was about the way he is talking. Takopi then uses it again, thinking he should be more careful from here on out as Marina. Marina's mother slaps him, telling him to stop because it's annoying. Takopi then apologizes in the same way he talked before, resulting in another slap. Marina's mother then starts calling him Mari while slapping him multiple times. Takopi, crying, tells Marina's mother that he won't do it again. The mother then tells him that he has changed. She says that she has always been at her side before and that she used to be an obedient child. Takopi then tells her that he will fix it. He will be the Marina he used to be. The mother then responds that he is different now. Everything about him is different while raising the remote for the air conditioning, preparing to hit Takopi with it. She elaborates further that his father might not notice or realize it, but she can tell that this child is not Mari as she hurls the remote toward Takopi's face. Takopi, in a defensive position, notices that he doesn't feel any pain. That's when he sees Marina's mother sitting on the floor, begging her to bring her Marina back. She tells Takopi that she doesn't know where he came from, but Marina is the child she carried inside her and gave birth to. She is her sweet daughter. Marina's mother then starts apologizing, saying that she isn't a good mother, but she loves her and begs her to come back to her. Takopi then starts looking at the cupboard where Marina's family pictures are. Marina did terrible things to Shizuka, yet Takopi can't help but feel bad about her. He then starts caressing the photos and begins apologizing to Marina's parents. He apologizes for not being Marina, and finally, he sits on the ground, crying while apologizing to Marina for killing her. He then starts to think about where he went wrong and what he should have done differently. But he is conflicted because Shizuka thanks him for killing her. He decides to talk to Shizuka to understand these feelings as geological surveyors discover Marina's body. In class, The police arrive and announce to the whole class that their classmate Marina was found dead yesterday. Everyone is shocked, and some are even crying at the news. The police then ask to speak with anyone who might know what happened. Yesterday, as the trio conducted their after-school meeting, Takopi was about to ask about his unknown feelings, but he was interrupted by Naoki, telling Takopi to transform back right now. Naoki shows his phone, displaying news about Marina's body being found, which led the police to investigate the incident as a murder case. The trio immediately conducts an emergency meeting in the park. Naoki reassures the two that they put her in the memory box so they can't know the day she died, and they also wiped off their fingerprints. Naoki also adds that the geological survey was bad luck, but they should have nothing to worry about as long as they keep quiet. Takopi then asks him if it's the right thing to do to keep quiet. He's been doing a lot of thinking about Marina and what will happen next, and he wants to talk it over with the two. Naoki then tells him that it's too late, they already found the body, and talking isn't going to help. He then shouts at Takopi angrily and calls him a stupid octopus. Takopi appeals to Naoki's conscience, telling him that Marina's parents must be very sad and that he feels responsible for doing something about Marina and her family. Takopi then suggests that they should tell the truth. Naoki thinks that he is right and starts to consider what would happen if they told the truth right now. Shizuka interrupts the two, asking when they are going to start the strategy meeting. It's almost summer break, and they can't skip school. When Naoki is about to tell Shizuka that it's a bad time to leave town, Shizuka interrupts again, asking him if they're still going to Tokyo. Shizuka then adds that Naoki is the one who said they could go over summer break. Naoki feels responsible for making this plan work. He had to make it work because he said he could. Late at night, Naoki is still at his study table, thinking of a plan, doubting himself, blaming himself, and pushing himself to do better so that Shizuka will still like him. Junya then calls him and asks why he is studying so late. Naoki quickly closes his notebook, shocked that he didn't hear his brother knocking. Junya then asks him if he is okay since one of his classmates died, telling him that if he needs anything, he is here for him. He also asks if it's the same girl that he hung out with, but Naoki gets overwhelmed by the questions, excuses himself to go to the bathroom, and Junya looks at his brother worriedly. The next day, the police are interviewing Marina's friends. They then tell them that Marina had been acting strange lately, and they point out Shizuka. The police then go to Shizuka's home, questioning her, but it seems Naoki already told Shizuka what to answer when the police questioned her. Shizuka then asks for confirmation if they will still be able to go to Tokyo. Naoki responds that they will definitely go. Naoki is so invested in the plan to make it successful that he neglects his studies, scoring 54 out of 100, lower than usual. At home, when he shows his score to his mother, she is, as usual, cooking pancakes. Naoki is about to break down, but his mother places the pancake in front of him and tells him to eat it. His mother then tells him that she noticed he has been having a hard time lately and staying out late, working hard on something. Naoki starts to think that his mother noticed how hard he has been struggling lately, covering for a murder he didn't commit, and all the guilt he feels inside. He thinks that his mother is feeding him his favorite pancake to cheer him up, so he decides to tell her everything. But she quickly interrupts him, telling him that he is incapable of success, the way he neglects his studies every day, and that he is purposely scoring miserably on tests to get her attention. His mother calls it childish and decides that she will stop caring about his scores. She also tells Naoki to do what he likes. Naoki, panicking, thinks that his mother doesn't care about him anymore and tries to stop her, but nothing comes out of his mouth. Naoki feels sick and starts throwing up in the bathroom. He feels hopeless and abandoned. But Shizuka and Takopi are there for him. and he starts crying, thinking that he is not alone. Shizuka then tells Naoki that she got another call from the police and has to go back to the station over summer break. But she can't go to the station because she has to go to Tokyo and see Chappy. She can't let them arrest her. Naoki then tells Shizuka that he will fix everything and do whatever it takes to save her. Shizuka, smiling and thanking Naoki, then asks him to take the murder weapon and turn himself in. Naoki, as a child, is always calling out to his brother Junya, who is always playing video games, reminding him to study because he has a test tomorrow. His brother then responds by calling him just like their mother and reassures him that it's going to be all right. He wasn't wrong. Junya aced all the tests. Their mother then hugs and compliments Naoki for being studious and expresses excitement for him to go to elementary school. Their mother then jokes that if he keeps it up, Naoki might surpass his own brother, leaving the three laughing. But that never happened, not even once. Naoki thinks his brother is a prodigy because his brother always scores 100 on every test. Even though Naoki scored over 90 and was praised by his fellow classmates, his mother is not satisfied, complaining that she raised Naoki and Junya the same, but why Naoki can't have a perfect score. His mother then gives him his brother's glasses since he mentioned that his eyesight is getting worse and tells him to do better next time. Everything changed when Junya started doing what he wanted, going against their mother's wishes. Seeing this, Naoki thinks that this is his chance to get his mother's attention because he believes Junya is bound to get involved in delinquent activities. But Naoki is wrong. Junya is too good. He doesn't let his work affect his grades, and he is still their mother's favorite. All Naoki has is his persistence and stupidity. Naoki thinks that it's all thanks to Junya's genes that he got street smarts, intelligence, and their mother's silky black hair and evenly spaced eyelids. Naoki saw his mother's eyelids on Shizuka, leaving him fumbling his own words when Shizuka asked why he is staring. He found himself drawn to Shizuka, ignoring his other classmates. At some point, he even thought of stopping the bullying, but Shizuka always denied help. He remembered his mother's words, "Failure is not an option when people's lives are in your hands," leaving him motivated. Days pass by, and Naoki always offers help to Shizuka, but all of his attempts are rejected. He despairs because he can't even get a girl who looks like his mom to accept his help. But all of this changes when he finds Shizuka and Takopi in the forest. Now, the same girl is telling him that he is all she's got and asking him to help her. Naoki then declares that this time everything will be perfect. He will handle it perfectly because Shizuka is counting on him and has no one else. Naoki starts questioning himself when Takopi asks them if what they're doing is the right thing. He then tells himself that all he's doing is to be like his mother, who runs a clinic and saves many people's lives. But all he can see is the blood on his hands for being an accomplice. Shizuka then holds Naoki's hands, telling him that he is the only one left that she can count on. She reassures him that if he turns himself in and ends up in juvie, she is willing to wait as long as it takes for him until he gets out. In the meantime, she will find Chappy. Naoki, crying, then asks her to never give up on him. But before he can finish his sentence, Shizuka kisses him on the cheek and then hugs him, reassuring him multiple times that everything will be all right. He then remembers that day when the three were bonding. It was the last time his mother hugged him. Early in the morning, hugging the murder weapon, Naoki prepares to leave the house, ready to accept responsibility for killing Marina. But someone calls him, asking where he is headed so early in the morning. It was Junya. Junya starts questioning Naoki, asking him to admit that he killed her. Junya then holds both of his shoulders and calls Naoki a disgrace to the family, saying he ruined everything and his future. He calls him incompetent and says he is just dragging everyone down with him, asking how he can take responsibility for it. All of this is what Naoki thinks is going to happen, but it's far from the truth. Instead, Junya kneels in front of him, matching his eye level, and gently asks if everything is all right. Junya can tell that Naoki is upset about something and reassures him that Naoki can trust him with anything. Naoki, shocked, starts to tear up and tells his brother that he will never understand because Junya is perfect, nice, does everything well, and is the only one anyone notices. He then tells him that he has no one. He didn't make any friends, studied really hard, but can't do anything right. He thinks that he let everyone down, including their mom, and that she has given up on him. No one cares if he lives or dies since no one expects anything from him. He has no one left except Shizuka. Junya then pats his head and tells him that it's not true because he has him. He then tells Naoki that he keeps telling him that he can say anything to him. Junya, tearing up, tells Naoki that scores are not important, and if there's something he doesn't understand or something that bothers him, Naoki can tell him. He wants him to tell him because he is his little brother. Junya then tells Naoki that no one is good at everything. He shares that he is not good at Monster Hunter and that his girlfriend was always helping him with stuff. He also adds that their mother's pancakes used to taste awful. Their mother just tried hard to make them perfect. Junya then tells him that they are a lot alike. Naoki starts crying, takes off his glasses, and tells him that the lenses are not right for him anymore and that he is just wearing them because their mother bought them. He also tells him that he has something he wants to know while hugging the murder weapon and crying. Junya, also on the verge of crying, pats his head and reassures him that he will hear him out. Early in the morning, the neighborhood is actively gossiping about the murder case. It seems that the son of the woman who runs the clinic, Naoki, was involved in that incident. They conclude that Naoki is too nice to do it and think that it was their classmate who forced him. Shizuka, waiting in the park, concludes that Naoki can't help her anymore. Takopi then asks what she will do and suggests just telling the truth to the police. Shizuka, packed with her luggage, asks what he is talking about and tells Takopi that today is the start of their summer break. She then puts a straw hat on Takopi and tells him that it's time to go to Tokyo. The story so far. Takopi and Shizuka set off to reunite with Chappy, who has been taken away. Now they're on their way to faraway Tokyo, where her daddy's place is. Shizuka and Takopi are now standing in front of a tall building. Shizuka's room seems to be on the 14th floor. Shizuka excitedly enters the building. She is excited because she will finally see her father after so long, and soon she will reunite with Chappy. She rings the doorbell, and what greets her is her father holding a child. He is shocked that Shizuka is in front of him. When Shizuka is about to call him, another child runs toward them and hugs Shizuka's father. Her name is Satsuki, and the child sleeping in his arms is Eri. Shizuka interferes and tells him that she came here to see Chappy. Then something starts barking. Shizuka hears it and asks if it's Chappy. She then calls the dog. When she finally sees the dog, it is not Chappy. Satsuki then asks who Shizuka is and why she is calling their father Dad. Shizuka's father then acts like he doesn't know her, leaving her devastated. Under the bridge, waiting for the rain to go away, Shizuka theorizes that maybe those children ate Chappy, like the way Takopi eats cicadas off the ground. That is what she thinks happened. That's why Chappy is nowhere to be seen. She tells Takopi that they need to open up their stomachs and check if Chappy is there. She then asks Takopi to give her a gadget that catches people and checks inside their stomachs. Takopi responds that he doesn't know any gadgets like that. She then forcibly yanks the morphing palette out of Takopi, hurting him. Shizuka then thinks of a plan with the gadget. If she uses this, she can sneak in at night without being seen. Takopi then grabs Shizuka's hand, telling her to listen to him, and asks her to go home with him. He apologizes to Shizuka for not being smart enough to help her, and admits that it was his fault that she tried so hard that she is falling apart. He apologizes while crying and asks Shizuka to go home with him. If she wants fun gadgets to play with, she can have the flappy wings so she can float in the air, and the morphin palette so she can transform anytime she wants. Takopi then begs Shizuka to go back to being the Shizuka she used to be, and says all he wants is for her to smile. Shizuka looks at Takopi disappointedly and asks him if he is not going to help her anymore. Then something triggers in Takopi's memory. The look that Shizuka has, it seems that he has seen it before, somewhere. The memories that he doesn't remember start flooding into his head. Takopi finally remembers everything he had forgotten. On 2022, in the middle of the day, a high schooler saw something moving disgustingly on a concrete cylinder in a park. She came to investigate and asked who was hiding there. To her surprise, a pink, dumb-looking creature emerged and introduced himself. He is an alien from planet Happy. He came to make everyone happy, and then he asked what is the high schooler's name. Her name is Marina Kirarazaka. Marina fed the pink alien with an onigiri. The alien then asked her to give him a happy name in the language of her world. Marina decided to call him Scumble. Early in the morning, Marina and Scumble are at the school gate walking toward the class, but it seems that everyone is gossiping about her. They called her a Yakuza because she has a scar on her cheek, and they assume that she has a bad temper. But they also find her cool because she is wearing a chameleon flower on her head. Scumble wants to thank Marina for feeding him earlier because it's his happy way, but he ends up receiving Marina's knuckles. Next, he tries to show her the flower pin so that both of them can wear one, but he ends up getting kicked. Scumble, full of bruises, shows her the ballpoint pen that sounds like a rabbit from Saturn. The sentence is cut short by Marina's fist as she tells him to behave himself while they go inside Marina's home. What greets them is Marina's mother, who looks like she is not well. Marina then tells her that she will start making their dinner and apologizes for getting home late. Her mother then asks for kombucha. Marina goes to their refrigerator to check while asking her if she has taken her medicine and tells her that the side effect is nightmares. It seems that the kombucha is already out. Marina's mother then aims a broken bottle at Marina, asking why she didn't order more before they ran out, and asks her if she thinks cheap booze suits her better. She then demands good kombucha liquor. Marina breaks down crying and apologizes. Her mother then starts hallucinating, telling Marina that she is a terrible homewrecker and that is why boys don't go near her. She then asks if Marina is saying it's her fault because she didn't breastfeed her enough. Scumble, not understanding what is happening, thinks that it is so lively in Marina's house. In her bedroom, Marina tells Scumble while stuttering that glass frightens her because when she was little, she made her mom mad and she cut her with cup fragments, causing the scar on her face. She then tells Scumble that she just wants to see her mother happy and someday to have children of her own and raise them to be happy. Takopi, Scumble, interrupts Marina, telling her that he gets it. Marina, preparing to hit Scumble, asks him to elaborate. Scumble thinks that's why she always touches him too hard. It's what Marina's mother does to her. Scumble thinks that this must be an example of human child rearing practices. He then tells Marina that he is sure that she will be a good mother, leaving her speechless. Scumble then tells her that he will help her become a good mother, and the first step is finding her a good father, as he drags Marina, telling him to mind his own business. That's when a familiar figure in front of them calls out Marina. It's Naoki. It seems that after meeting again for the first time since they were little, the two started going out with each other, leaving her mother very happy. She tells Marina that she should have told her sooner. Marina then tells her mom that she will introduce him next time, leaving her looking forward to it. She also adds that her dad's work has been cut back because of COVID, so he should be home soon. And they will have dinner together. But this will not happen because they already have a divorce, and her father has a new life now. However, her mother seems to be hallucinating, having a hard time facing reality. All Marina can do is say okay. Her mother then tells her that her boyfriend is the son of the woman who runs the nearby clinic and thinks that he must have a bright future ahead of him, but it is Junya who will inherit the clinic. On the hallway, Marina tells Scumble that it's been a really long time since she and her mom have had a nice conversation. She then tells Scumble that Naoki is into sweet things since he really likes pancakes, and she plans to make them for him next time. She adds that the scar on her cheek doesn't bother him. She continues, saying that ever since she was little, a lot of things happened. Her father left them, her mother became a different person, and she also has no friends and is always alone. Before she can finish, Scumble clings to her face and enthusiastically asks her if she is happy, resulting in another punch to his face, sending him across the room. Marina continues, saying that if he hadn't come along, she might not have taken that path that day, and she wouldn't have met Naoki. She thanks him because things haven't been that bad lately. While the two are on a date, Marina tries to initiate holding Naoki's hand, but something catches his interest. It seems that the school is having a new transfer student, and it seems that she is super pretty. It also seems that she's from around here and had a rough time because of that incident several years ago. The girl who tried to unalive herself but survived because the rope broke. The girl is Shizuka. Naoki, smitten by Shizuka, broke up with Marina, telling her that he was all Shizuka had. He then elaborated further, saying that Shizuka has no family in the area, and they have been close ever since elementary school. Naoki was the only one she could count on. He hadn't seen her in so long, but finally she came back, and he started to realize that she was the only one he could count on too. At home, Marina saw her mother ready to meet Naoki. She made a Bavarian cream that Marina liked, cooked dinner, and even readied her hair for the occasion. Leaving Marina sweating nervously, while Scumble, unaware of what is happening, told Marina that he would go outside and get Naoki. When Scumble is outside, Marina's mother charged at Marina. The two fought while crying, and her mother picked up a broken glass and started aiming it at Marina. Outside, when Scumble was about to get Naoki, he saw him talking happily with a girl. When he came closer to see, he saw Shizuka's scary expression. He got scared, so he just went home. When he arrived, what greeted him was Marina apologizing to her mother, covered in blood, and regretting that she should have finished off Shizuka back in the 4th grade. She then held her mother's face, begging her not to leave her all alone. Scumble then called Marina. Marina, still crying, responded by asking what he wants and why he is still here. She questioned why all of this happened, and if she had known this would happen, she should have at least given Scumble a real name. Scumble then took out his happy spaceship, preparing to blast off. He told Marina that he would go back to the time when Shizuka Kuze was in the 4th grade and dispatch her so that Marina would be happy. He reassured Marina that it was easy to do with the great happy clock and that she should leave it to him. He then took off and said goodbye to Marina for now. Marina, staring at Takopi fly away, thought to herself that she should have given him a name, something like Takopi, as she picked up the glass, preparing to go where her mother went. On Planet Happy, Takopi explains everything to their mother Happy about why he has to use the Great Happy Clock, to go back to when they were in the 4th grade and dispatch Shizuka Kuze. Mother Happy then added a condition. If he was going back in time, his memory would be erased, and he would be returned to the happy state of a newborn. Mother Happy added that he came to her with a plan that intends to break Planet Happy's most sacred commandment, so Takopi was banned from ever returning to their planet. She said that he must be reborn anew so that he can forget everything. Takopi then hid his own mother, telling her that he wouldn't let her. Takopi then explained that she doesn't understand anything and used the Great Happy Clock. Mother Happy then told him that he was already losing his memory and asked him what dispatch means exactly, and why he touched her so hard. She asked him to talk to her and explain, but Takopi was already gone. The Happians then called for their mama, caressing their mother's throbbing bruise. While landing on Earth, he promised someone to make her happy, even if he lost his memory. But it seems he is starting to forget her. He even questioned himself. Who was it he wanted to make smile? But now he remembers that he must dispatch Shizuka Kuze. While landing in the park, Takopi told himself that he must dispatch Shizuka. He thinks that it's Shizuka's fault why Marina lost her father, Naoki, and her beloved mother, while Takopi keeps telling himself like a prayer that he must dispatch Shizuka because she is evil. He then remembers that Marina has done terrible things too. Isn't that evil as well? And what about himself? He killed Marina. Takopi then remembers the first time he met Shizuka. She offered an alien, a being not from this world, a portion of her lunch. Takopi started crying, conflicted about his feelings. Then someone called him and asked what he was doing. It was Naoki. Takopi then told Naoki all the memories he forgot. He told him that the reason he returned to Earth was to make Marina happy, not Shizuka. Naoki, confused about what Takopi was talking about, told him that he didn't make any sense. Takopi then told Naoki that he should come with him to find Shizuka. But Naoki refused and told Takopi that he couldn't see Shizuka anymore. This would be the last time he would see Takopi because he had a lot on his plate at the moment. His mother was bedridden from stress, his father had come back from overseas, and it seemed that their clinic was going to close down. Naoki then said his goodbyes and told Takopi that he couldn't cause any trouble for them. That's what he came to the park to tell him. Takopi then held Naoki's hand when he was about to leave and asked why he would say such things. Takopi told Naoki that he didn't like it, and he didn't want him to leave. He would miss seeing him. Takopi asked if it was because he didn't have fun playing with him. Naoki responded that it was fun. Takopi then asked if it was because he was stupid and bad. Naoki tried to explain it to Takopi, but Takopi didn't understand any of it. Takopi then asked why he still wanted to make Shizuka smile, even though Shizuka was an evil child who did hurtful things to people and made Marina sad, but she gave him bread to eat, which was kind, and he also liked being with her. Takopi couldn't understand how she could be both evil and good. Naoki told him that it was just the way things are. People can do good and bad things. Naoki then called Takopi silly because he didn't know about free will. Naoki then called Takopi stupid, and also Shizuka because she didn't do her homework. And he called himself the worst. Even though the three of them were bad, Naoki was still having fun hanging out with them because, for the first time in his life, he looked forward to going to their awful school because they were his friends. Naoki, tearing up, called Takopi ridiculously optimistic, stupid, a terrible liar, and hopeless, but he was kind. Naoki then told Takopi that he was grateful for everything he had done and gave back Takopi's happy camera, apologizing for taking it without telling him. He then told Takopi that he enjoyed their time together, but he wasn't good enough to save it. He thought that he could save Shizuka, but in the end, Naoki couldn't do anything to help her. He thinks that trying to save her was a mistake. Naoki then said his goodbyes. He had only snuck out for a minute, but Takopi called him and asked why he was wearing different glasses than before. He replied that his brother Junya bought these for him with his last paycheck. Naoki hunched back and told Takopi that Junya got fired from his job, and he might not get to go to college now. Naoki then got up, wiping his tears, and asked Takopi if on his planet there was a gadget that could turn back time. If there was, he asked Takopi to tell that version of Naoki to fight with his brother. Naoki then said his goodbyes to Takopi while the two were crying. As the seasons passed, Takopi was left alone in the park, thinking about what Naoki said, that helping Shizuka was a mistake. As the news about Shizuka broke out, it seemed that she successfully kidnapped her stepsisters, leaving them traumatized and in a fragile state. The people accused her father of being a deadbeat, which is why all of this had happened. Takopi finally found Shizuka standing in the park where the two of them first met. Takopi, crying, called out to Shizuka and told her he wanted to talk to her about something. When you are troubled, wish upon a star. Wish for a father who doesn't leave. Wish for school lunches you like. Wish for a school without bullying. But what is it that you really want? Takopi is standing in front of Shizuka, blocking her way. Shizuka shouted at Takopi, telling him to get out of her way, as she was going to the animal shelter to find Chappy. She's even prepared to check the stomachs of the people there if she has to. Takopi, still not budging, reasons with Shizuka that if she does that, the people at animal control will be sad, and she mustn't hurt more people. As he tries to reason with Shizuka, she grows angrier and angrier until she snaps and stomps on Takopi. Shizuka then asks what she should have done instead. What should she have done when her father looked at her like he didn't know her? When they didn't let her board the ferry? When there were no grown-ups to take care of her? What was she supposed to do when her mother stopped coming home? What should she have done when she ran out of writing boards? They tell her that she stinks. But what is it about her that stinks? She doesn't know because her mother never told her. She then picks up a rock and asks Takopi to tell her what she is supposed to do now that she can't see her father anymore. What should she do if no one comes during Parents' Day? When she calls home and no one is there, what is she supposed to do? She keeps asking these kinds of questions to Takopi while hitting him with a rock. She then starts crying and asks what she should have done, telling him to tell her. All Takopi can respond is that he doesn't know. He then holds Shizuka's hand and apologizes because what she feels is too hard for him to understand. Shizuka then bonks him with a rock and complains about his answer. She tells him that it's hopeless and not to touch her. But Takopi still continues his happy handshake while Shizuka, confused, continues hitting him. Takopi continues to apologize, saying sorry because he couldn't do anything to help her. Sorry because he kept trying and failing, and sorry because he didn't understand the first thing about how she felt. He says sorry for not listening to her and not trying to understand her, and he says sorry for leaving her all by herself. Shizuka breaks down and cries, telling Takopi to shut up and telling him that saying that now isn't going to bring her father back. Takopi then goes closer to her and hugs her as Shizuka shares all of her pain while crying. She tells Takopi that her mother doesn't love her anymore, Chappy is never coming back, and everything is ruined. Takopi comforts her while listening. The two cry for hours while comforting each other. They walk around aimlessly while holding hands, sleep, and spend time together. On the seaside, while the two are watching the sea, Takopi calls Shizuka and tells her that he is happy here with her. Just him and her together all the time. Shizuka looks at Takopi, waiting for him to continue. For the first time, Shizuka finally listens to what he has to say. Takopi can't help but tear up and continues. He has this special gadget that he wants to show her, the happy camera. If you take a photo with it and save it, you can go back to the moment in time when it was taken. But at the moment, it is broken and doesn't work. Takopi then starts to glow and tells Shizuka that he finally remembers that there's one last thing that only he can do for her. Shizuka starts to panic as she sees Takopi start to disappear, bit by bit, and quickly goes beside him. Takopi then explains the gift. If he gives up his happy powers and uses them to fix the camera, he can use this gadget one last time. Shizuka, panicking, tells Takopi to wait as she tries to hold him, but her hands go through his body. Her eyes darken, and she tells Takopi that if he leaves her too, she doesn't know what she's going to do anymore. Takopi then reassures Shizuka that he will make her smile from ear to ear and tells her that being with her made him happy. He knows that the reason she never smiled was because he wasn't good enough. Shizuka, crying and begging Takopi, says that she can smile, so he doesn't have to do this. Earth is the third planet in her solar system. Takopi cares too much about Shizuka that he will do anything to help her get her heart's desire. While Takopi is disintegrating, he thanks Shizuka one last time. He thanks her for their time together, for being his friend, and for sharing her bread that day. Goodbye, Shizuka. The camera worked, but Shizuka doesn't have any recollection of what happened. Early in the morning, something wakes Shizuka up so she won't be late for school. Walking to school, this optimistic, strange narrator claims that today is a beautiful day and a perfect school day. Shizuka goes to school every day, even though everyone avoids her. In the classroom, there's Marina. She goes to Shizuka with her usual bullying, but slips up and asks Shizuka why she isn't wearing her chameleon flower today, leaving her and her friends confused about why she said that. She quickly ends the conversation. Here is Naoki in the background, wearing a new pair of glasses, telling his classmates that he got into a fight with his big brother as he glances at Shizuka. Her male classmates ask if they can go to his place to play together. In this timeline, their paths never met. Shizuka was always by herself, and so was Marina. Marina vents at Shizuka, blaming her that it is all her fault why her mother cries and her father is always mad. She then asks Shizuka to give her back her family and hits her, causing her school bag's contents to spill over. Marina pulls out her pen, crying, shouting at Shizuka to give her family back. But Marina stops when she sees a drawing of an octopus on Shizuka's notebook. She then asks what it is. Shizuka responds, telling her that she doesn't know what it is, it's just there. Marina then calls it gross and tells her that it looks like a ball of scum. The two stop for a second to look at it. Marina then proceeds to call it stupid and useless, like a ball of scum, a scumball. Shizuka agrees and tells her that it looks kind of concerned, like it's watching over them, like it wants to be with them all the time. Marina agrees, adding that it looks like it will talk their ears off and never leave. It's stupid. Shizuka adds that it's useless and all it does is talk, because talking brings happiness. The two then look confused and start crying. They don't understand why they started crying. Marina, feeling disgusted, asks why Shizuka is crying. Shizuka responds that she is crying too. The two are confused why their tears won't stop, so they just accept it and cry together. Earth, the third planet in the solar system. There were so many things that Takopi couldn't do for them. He couldn't fix their broken families or bring back the love they'd lost, the mothers they never see again, the fathers who no longer belong only to them. Takopi couldn't fix any of those things. But you and you and you. And to all of you who feel alone at the moment, may you grow up to be happy adults. Thank you. Bye-bye. Shizuka looks back. Marina asks what she's looking at, but Shizuka reassures her that it was nothing. Many years had passed. Marina and Shizuka became high schoolers. They are at the stationery store talking to each other. Marina tells Shizuka that her mother's kind of a mess today and thought of buying her a cake on her way home. Shizuka then replies that Marina's mother has always been a mess. Marina then asks whose fault that is. The two became so close that they banter about their trauma. Outside, there is Chappy, waiting for the two to finish shopping. Then, while looking for a pen, both of them recognize a familiar pen. The rabbit from Saturn ballpoint pen, they exclaim in unison. The two stared at each other confused about what they just said. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.